Hey everyone, this is What If Fan bringing you another part of What If Ninja in Jujutsu Kaisen. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Please make sure to support the creator. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, a quick update, there's only one more part left in the story. What if Ichigo had a different Zanpakuto before we fully catch up with the author? So once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the next project should be on this channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Seinen system in High School DxD? What if Ichigo awoke his true powers? What if mangaka in One Piece world? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next on the channel. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 11, Facing a Special Grade Curse. But waiting for support was not a good thing for him. To complete the mission, he has to deal with this cursed spirit alone. If it's a group fight, then he probably won't get the reward, right? So, he has to kill this special head cursed spirit before help arrives. A first-grade sorcerer can compete against a special-grade cursed spirit. So, this is a good opportunity to see what stage he is at. Nobara anxiously said, "Idiot. Stop trying to be a hero." The huge body of the cursed spirit blew away the fences and cars on the ground. Its target was Kazuma. As a special-grade cursed spirit, it could see that this human was the only threat to it. After killing him, it wouldn't have to worry. At the same time, its tail began to wriggle, and white silk instantly blocked the entire area. Larvae continued to emerge from the ground and rushed towards Yuji and the other two. The whole area was blocked. Megumi made hand seals and shouted, "Max Elephant!" A pink elephant fell from the sky. Bang! The ground shook violently, and this powerful blow killed many of the surrounding cursed larvae. To deal with such a large number of cursed spirits, Max Elephant was undoubtedly the best choice. Nobara's eyes were sharp, and she hammered a steel needle, piercing the row of larvae in front of her. Resonance! Following her loud shout, the hammer engraved with a pink heart hit the straw doll in her left hand. The larvae that were hit by the nails instantly exploded into a bloody mist. Yuji, who had not yet learned Black Flash, could only fight the cursed larvae with hand-to-hand combat. Damn it! There's no way to kill all these larvae, let alone help Kazuma. Kazuma, don't get into any trouble. The three of them looked up at Kazuma, who was standing still, feeling extremely worried. They could only hope that help would come soon. Roar! The special-grade cursed spirit opened its mouth wide enough to swallow an entire building and rushed towards Kazuma, while countless tentacles from its back shot straight at Kazuma. Boom! The billboard was instantly crushed into powder by the overwhelming tentacles. The ground collapsed because it could not bear the huge body. Every attack of the special-grade cursed spirit had tremendous power. However, all the attacks went straight through Kazuma's body without causing any damage. Kazuma jumped up and came above the cursed spirit. He used the cursed tool in his hand to draw a shocking scar on its body. Sizzle! Green blood spurted dozens of meters. Opening gate, open. Red energy and blood surged throughout Kazuma's body. His long hair moved even in the absence of billowing wind, and the blood vessels on his forehead bulged. With his greatly increased strength and speed, he stepped on the back of the cursed spirit, swinging the knife-like cursed tool in his hand at a high speed. His terrifying hand speed that was honed through years of training was fully reflected at this moment. Kazuma cut off all the tentacles on the back of the cursed spirit like he was just cutting a normal fruit. Among special-grade cursed spirits, the larger ones are often easier to deal with compared to smaller ones. This cursed spirit must have devoured a lot of humans and has probably just entered special grade. Meanwhile, Nobara and the others became stunned when they saw Kazuma's actions. This is a lie, isn't it? Kazuma is so brave? He actually stepped on the back of a special-grade cursed spirit and slashed it? Also, isn't Kazuma's sword-swinging speed too fast? It's almost like an afterimage. Even with just his physical skills, Kazuma can probably squeeze into the ranks of first-grade sorcerers. Is this his true strength? The three were dumbfounded at this moment. They were all first-year students, so why was there such a big gap between them? No, it's not that they are weak. It's just that Kazuma is abnormally strong. Ah, unforgivable. The special grade cursed spirit was completely enraged. Its tail stopped releasing larvae and after a while, it condensed into a head. The heads at both ends attacked Kazuma at the same time at an extremely fast speed. Attack from both sides. Kazuma, be careful. Behind you. Megumi shouted a warning. Bang! The two ends collided fiercely, and a huge shockwave blew the three people to the ground. Kazuma! Nobara's pupils were bloodshot as she screamed. From their viewpoint, Kazuma had not avoided the pincer attack. That was almost a full-strength attack from a special-grade cursed spirit. Even thick steel would be crushed, let alone Kazuma's physical body. The special-grade cursed spirit seemed to be unsatisfied and struck violently several times again. Squash. Squash into meat patties and feed it to the dogs, hee hee hee. I'm sorry to disappoint you. A cold voice sounded in the cursed spirit, sent ears. Not dead yet? The human faces responsible for speaking on both sides of the cursed spirit's head asked in confusion. In the sky, a pitch-black crow was hovering, and no one had noticed its presence. At the same time, near Kazuma's battle site, Ijichi was driving a black car at a fast speed. The car was going very fast, but the people in the car weren't terrified. What a pity, I'm afraid it's more dangerous than safe. A mature voice broke the stiff atmosphere. Meimei was wrapped in a black windbreaker, which could not hide her graceful curves. She crossed her legs lazily, and her pale blue hair covered half of her pretty face. Just now, she had seen the battle situation of Kazuma and the others clearly through the crow's shared vision. Nanami said, "You mean, all the students in the first grade have met with an accident?" Nanami wiped his glasses, his anger barely concealed in his calm tone. Meimei slowly closed her eyes and said, "The genius that Yaga mentioned has met with an accident, but we may be able to arrive in time to save the others." Whether it was through Yaga Mazamichi's oral narration or the vision shared by Crow just now, it was an eye-opener for her. The new guy named Kazuma is indeed incredibly talented. Ah! It's a pity. He's such a handsome little brother. Ijichi, who was driving in front, broke out in a cold sweat after hearing this. This time, Yaga had specifically instructed that Kazuma and others must be rescued. It could be seen that Yaga cared about this freshman named Kazuma the most. If Meimei says that Kazuma has met with an accident, how furious will Yaga be? Chapter 12, Killing the Curse. How could two special-grade cursed spirits appear at the same time out of nowhere? If Gojo Satoru hadn't been sent away, how could Kazuma and the others have been in danger? What's the difference between letting freshmen fight against special-grade cursed spirits and sending them to their deaths? Ijichi-san, hurry up, so I can quickly get the principal's money after saving them. Yes. Meimei-san. Ijichi stepped on the accelerator, and the car turned into black lightning, running on the road. Just as Yuji and his companions were grieving, a figure appeared in front of them. Kazuma. With his appearance, Yuji, Nobara, and the special-grade cursed spirits all became stunned. Yuji rubbed his eyes and said, "Am I seeing things right? Kazuma is actually fine." After such a violent collision, Kazuma was completely unharmed? Moreover, he had a smile on his face, a playful expression. Even his clothes were not damaged at all. It was as if the attack just now had no effect on him at all. Nobara lowered her head and said nothing. Her hair was disheveled, and her expression was unrecognizable, but her trembling red lips revealed her uneasy mood at the moment. This damn bastard. Why does he always like to make people worry? Impossible. How come you're fine? The cursed spirit roared in disbelief. With Kazuma's Kamui, he certainly wouldn't receive any harm at all. Long before, with the observation ability of the Sharingan, he had anticipated the attack from behind. So, at that moment, he had stopped attacking. As long as he doesn't attack, everything will pass through his body. On the contrary, if he attacks, his body will become solid. Once he is in the Kamui dimension, even an attack from all sides can't do anything to him. However, there is a counter to his Kamui. It is an attack that lasts for 5 minutes. Although Kamui is powerful, it also has its limits. Under a continuous attack that exceeds 5 minutes, his Kamui will reach its limit. The cursed spirit, who didn't believe what it was seeing, once again attacked Kazuma. Let's stop playing house here. While he was in the Kamui dimension just now, Kazuma had already discovered the weakness of this special grade cursed spirit. Facing the bloody mouth, Kazuma looked at the middle of its body with his left eye and focused. The space twisted in vortex ripples appeared within the cursed spirit's body. Bang! With a muffled sound, a bloody hole appeared. The huge body of the cursed spirit suddenly froze, and then it twitched wildly. Kazuma's figure flashed, and he instantly came to the bloody hole. He pulled out his hand and dug something out. A caterpillar with a human face that was the size of a fist was tightly held in his hand. Kazuma's large hands were like an iron clamp, making it impossible for the caterpillar to break free no matter how hard it struggled. Ah, let me go, sly sorcerer. The human-faced caterpillar was terrified. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How did he find out that I was hiding here? Even if he had made a guess, shouldn't he have gone for the head? Kazuma laughed while looking at the fist-sized cursed spirit in front of him. He hadn't expected such a small thing to be hiding under the huge appearance. It was like it was just driving a mecha. The driver was forcibly pulled out and the huge body of the cursed spirit stopped moving. Kazuma kept increasing the strength in his hands. The cursed spirit's pale face turned red. Its eyeballs bulged as if they were about to explode. The moment it was caught by Kazuma, it was doomed to die. No, let me go. I was once a human being, with old parents and children. I was forcibly transformed into this. I will never eat humans again. Please spare my life. The cursed spirit burst into tears and actually started begging for mercy. Kazuma was puzzled. Can all top-level cursed spirits speak so fluently? They can even play the emotional card? Kazuma said, I was a little moved by what you just said, but how can I get the reward if I don't kill you? Kazuma suddenly tightened his right hand. Crack! First, the sound of bones breaking was heard, and then the entire head was instantly crushed. Kazuma threw the headless corpse away, and the huge cursed spirit shell under his feet expanded rapidly like a balloon. He warned the two below, damn it. This thing is going to explode, stay away. Oh. Yuji and the others were dazed, and retreated sluggishly. They hadn't come to their senses yet, and Kazuma had already killed the special grade cursed spirit? How did he know that the real body of the cursed spirit was hidden in the body? Suddenly, someone tapped Megumi on the shoulder. Megumi said, Nanami-sensei, Mei-Mei-sensei, you are here. Yuji and Nobara looked curiously at the man and woman behind them. Nanami said calmly, well, although I hate working overtime, if my students are in trouble, as a teacher, I have some sense of responsibility. Mei-Mei held a giant axe in her hand and took enchanting steps, twisting her hips exaggeratedly while walking. With every step, the light blue braid in front of her face swung. Da. The high heels made an elegant and crisp sound when hitting the ground. Nanami, why are you still standing there? Go get the principal's money after the fight. Nanami slapped his forehead with his hand. Was Mei-Mei doing this to save the students or for the money? You guys, stay here. If Kazuma's body is still intact, I will bring it back. After hearing this, Yuji and the other two all looked puzzled. Kazuma's body? Did the teachers misunderstand something? Yuji quickly explained that Kazuma seems to be fine, and you guys better not go over there for now, the cursed spirit is about to explode. Nobara and Megumi also nodded in unison and pointed at the cursed spirit that was growing larger and larger. Mei-Mei and Nanami stopped at the same time and looked at the huge cursed spirit in front of them. You mean? Mei quickly guessed a possibility, and she prepared to share the view of the crows in the sky again. However, the body of the cursed spirit had already expanded to an extreme size. Bang! A deafening explosion sounded, and a torrential downpour of blood drowned everyone. Several people quickly formed a barrier. Chapter 13, Surprise. Mei and Nanami gasped and stood there like statues. The special grade cursed spirit was killed? Combined with what Yuji had just said, they looked at each other in shock. This means that Kazuma not only did not die, but also killed this special grade cursed spirit? Although they had heard from Yaga that Kazuma was very strong, they had never expected him to be this amazing. Even as first grade sorcerers, they were not completely sure they could kill a special grade cursed spirit. Mei's eyes flickered and said, "What an amazing baptism of blood and rain." Just now, her crow was unfortunately killed in the explosion, but at the last moment, she saw a pair of scarlet eyes. What kind of eyes were those? They could actually detect her crows. After the explosion, a vortex appeared behind Yuji, and Kazuma came behind him silently without a single stain of blood on his body. "I'll give this back to you." Kazuma's calm voice sounded behind him. Everyone turned around in surprise, and Yuji was even more frightened. Wow! Kazuma, why do you appear and disappear so often? Yuji took the cursed tool, touched his frightened little heart, and complained. In addition, the others looked at Kazuma, as if they wanted to thoroughly see him from the inside out. Kazuma felt uncomfortable with everyone's stares and waved. He said, "Hello, teachers?" Mei took back the huge axe on her shoulder, moved it in front of her, and looked at Kazuma. The corners of her mouth curved slightly as she looked at him with interest. This kid's pupils have turned black again? He actually gave her a warning just now, interesting. How many secrets does he hide? Kazuma leaned back. He had just noticed the crows in the sky and subconsciously glared at them. He didn't expect it was Mei's. Looking at her blue braid that covered half of her face, Kazuma had the urge to lift it up. He wondered what Mei would look like with twin ponytails. Nanami calmed down and said, "Okay, Mei, be careful, he is still a student." After saying that, he looked at Kazuma deeply again. Kazuma's breath was steady, and his total amount of cursed energy was not comparable to Gojo Satoru or Yuta, but this was exactly what shocked him. In other words, Kazuma did not spend much effort in the battle with this special grade cursed spirit. Moreover, he could clearly see that Kazuma had no wounds on his body, not even a drop of blood. If it were him, could he do the same as him? Nanami shook his head and immediately denied it. He didn't need to dwell on it. Everyone's cursed techniques and fighting styles were different. There was no need to worry about whether his clothes were stained with blood or not. But when he thought that the other party was just a new student, he couldn't calm down. It is true that the new generation pushes the old generation forward. Before, Gojo Satoru had suddenly appeared, and now there is another freak like Kazuma who killed a special grade cursed spirit just a few days after entering school. What a monster! Nanami patted Kazuma on the shoulder and said, "You did a good job. Not only did you protect your teammates, but you also eliminated the special grade cursed spirit. If possible, ask Mei to assess you next time. You are more than capable enough." Mei tilted her head and blinked. She said, "If you pay the right amount, you can pass." Nanami was speechless. He said, "Hey. Pay attention to the situation. There are so many people watching." Kazuma nodded and said he would consider it. Sure enough, Mei always talks about money. In that case, can he just use money to recruit her into Akatsuki? Kazuma immediately denied it, thinking it was not realistic and he didn't have Yuke money on him. Ijichi hurriedly came from a distance and waved to everyone. Excitement could be seen on his face. Great! Kazuma is not dead. This way, the principal won't be angry. He has to call the principal right away to tell him the good news. At the same time, in Tokyo Jujutsu High, the atmosphere in the principal's office was serious. Gojo Satoru, who had just returned and learned about the situation, leaned against the wall without saying a word. He had an unusually serious expression. Two special grade cursed spirits had appeared almost at the same time. It seemed like this was someone's plan. He had a rough estimate of Kazuma's strength. Even if Kazuma lacked combat experience, he could still protect himself. What he was most worried about were Yuji and the other two. If the special grade cursed spirit attacks them, it would be difficult for Kazuma to save the three while protecting himself. He was negligent. Kazuma is just a student. Even a first-grade sorcerer would not be able to take care of this situation. The worst-case scenario is that Sukuna emerges again, which would be a huge problem. In addition to Gojo Satoru, there were several instructors sitting around the table, namely Shoko and Yutaheim. Yaga was out answering a phone call. Shoko had short brown hair, light smoky makeup, and a pure white medical gown that highlighted her slender and perfect figure. Huff. She blew out a puff of smoke and said softly, "Don't blame yourself." No one could have predicted that two special grade cursed spirits would appear at the same time. Yutaheim, who was wearing a red and white shrine maiden costume, consoled him. The principal just went out to answer a phone call. Maybe it's good news? And Mei Mei and Nanami are also on their way to rescue. Bang! The door was suddenly pushed open. Yaga pushed the door open with a laugh. The gloom on his face had disappeared, replaced by joy. Good news, Nanami and the others have met Kazuma and his friends, they are all safe. When Yaga said this, everyone immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Gojo Satoru shrugged slightly, with a smile on his face. Besides, Nanami and the others didn't even get involved. Kazuma killed the special grade cursed spirit all by himself. Yaga Rai set his chin proudly, as if he had done it himself. What? Shoko and Yutaheim straightened their bodies, showing shock. That freshman Kazuma killed a special grade cursed spirit all by himself? The corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth curled up even more and he said, "Hee hee, as expected of my favorite student." Principal, didn't you say Kazuma was the new student that Gojo Satoru just brought back? A fourth grade sorcerer exorcised a special grade cursed spirit? The two women looked at Yaga in disbelief. Chapter 14, Yaga's Decision. Yaga said, "You may not know this yet, but you can't treat Kazuma as a normal freshman." He pointed to the black marks on his body that had not yet completely disappeared and said, "See, this wound on my face was caused by Kazuma." Yaga raised his face proudly, his tone full of pride. This time, Shoko and Yutaheim were even more shocked. Especially Shoko, the cigarette in the corner of her mouth almost fell off. Did they really hear it right? Kazuma beat up the principal? No wonder Yaga had black and swollen eyes these days. It turned out that he was beaten up by someone. But out of consideration for Huss' feelings, others didn't dare to ask. After all, they were not the fearless Gojo Satoru. But this freshman named Kazuma is really surprising. Yaga's strength was obvious to all. The cursed corpses he had created were very powerful. However, even under such circumstances, Kazuma still beat him up? It's only been a few days, and he has killed a special grade cursed spirit. Isn't he too fierce? They became more and more interested in this new student. Gojo Satoru suddenly spoke up, "Yaga, why don't you promote Kazuma to a teacher? He is more than capable enough to handle a special grade cursed spirits on his own." Shoko said, "I agree." Yutaheim echoed, "Me too." In recent years, cursed spirits have appeared more and more frequently and are getting more difficult to deal with. The danger level in a mission has been getting higher and higher. Sometimes a second-grade sorcerer has to face special-grade cursed spirits. The mortality rate is too high. But there is no other way. The gap between the number of sorcerers and cursed spirits is too big. As teachers, they not only have to exorcise cursed spirits, but also have to take time to teach students. If they weren't sorcerers, they would have collapsed from exhaustion long ago. Yaga glared at Gojo Satoru and thought in his heart. Kazuma was really beyond his expectations, and he was definitely strong enough to become a teacher. As for whether the students can be convinced? At worst, they can be convinced by being beaten up. A sorcerer doesn't need so many twists and turns. The biggest obstacle is the higher-ups. Kazuma's identity alone is a big problem. Yaga said in a deep voice, "Last time, I asked you to investigate Kazuma's identity but you still got no results?" Shoko helplessly said, "Don't mention it, there is no information at all. It's as if this person appeared out of thin air." In the past few days, she and Yutaheim had worked overtime and used all the means they could, but there was still no clue about Kazuma's identity. As a result, all she could think about when she went to sleep these days was Kazuma. Yaga pondered for a moment and said, "How about this? I will promote him to a teacher in my personal name, and his salary will be the same as yours." Then, he paused and glanced at Gojo Satoru. He said, "But for absolute safety, how about letting Mei use crows to spy on him?" This was something he had to do. As the principal, he had to make every possible consideration. First, Kazuma's identity is unknown, even his parents couldn't be found. Second, Kazuma's strength. A student who is no less powerful than Mei and Nanami suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and his specific strength is still unknown. If there is a slight possibility that Kazuma has ulterior motives, the consequences will be disastrousum. So, let him be the villain. At worst, he can personally make amends to Kazuma. The two women pretended to be busy, as if they didn't hear what he had said, while Gojo Satoru's face gloomed. He was not a fool. When he had first met Kazuma, he had sensed the mystery of this person. But Six Eyes would never be wrong. Kazuma had no hostility towards them, and he could even sense some kindness from him. That's why he didn't worry about Kazuma's identity. However, he was the only one who knew about Kazuma's situation, so it was normal for Yaga to have some guesses, but this was too unfair to Kazuma. He wants Kazuma to become a teacher and help, but also wants to secretly monitor him from behind? No matter who it is, they would feel unhappy. Is status really that important? Why do they have to care about those old higher-ups? The atmosphere in the room became solemn again. "I remain opposed to this matter, but it's up to you to do whatever you want. There is only one Kazuma, so you should be careful." After saying this, Gojo Satoru left. Shoko couldn't stand this atmosphere, so she dragged Yutaheim away and said, "Principal, Yutaheim and I will continue our investigation." Bang! The door closed and the room fell into silence. Only Yaga was left in the darkness, standing still like a statue. He turned his phone to the dial page but did nothing. Ever since the Ghetto Suguru incident, the college and even the upper echelons have become extremely cautious. That incident was not only painful for Gojo Satoru, but also for Yaga. He didn't plan to take any chances. Finally, he dialed a number. A mature female voice came from the other end of the phone. "Hey, even though I didn't contribute much, you still have to pay me back." Yaga said, "Use your crow to quietly follow Kazuma. I will give you double the money afterwards. Pay attention." Meanwhile, in Roppongi, night has fallen. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. The system store has been unlocked. Please check it out. Since the host just killed a special grade cursed spirit and 5 second grade cursed spirits, 11,000 have been rewarded. Points? Kazuma's eyes lit up. Could it be that he could get points by killing cursed spirits? How are the rewarded points measured? Kill cursed spirits and curse users to get points. The higher the level of the cursed spirits or curse users, the more points you get. Note, if the members of the Akatsuki kill a cursed spirit, the host can obtain half of the points reward. I see. There is an endless supply of cursed spirits in this world, so it is quite convenient to earn points. Moreover, members of the Akatsuki can also provide him with half of the points. It seems that he needs to search for cursed spirits. It would be best if he could set up an intelligence organization. Mei, with her reconnaissance skill, is the best choice. The assistant supervisor in Jujutsu High can also provide the locations of many cursed spirits are. However, there is currently no good way to invite them to join, so he should just improve his strength as soon as possible. Chapter 15, System Store. If he was as strong as Sukuna and Gojo Satoru, he wouldn't have to worry so much. Kazuma followed behind the group, and Yuji kept bragging about his heroic deeds to the teachers. Kazuma opened the system store and saw that there were 6 items inside. Akatsuki robe. Price, 300 points. Made of special materials, can provide a certain degree of protection, and comes with an automatic cleaning function. Madara's treasured ninjutsu scroll. Price, 100,000 points. Gun buy. Price, 10,000 points. Superior to special grade curse tools. Obito's mask. Price, 1,000 points. After wearing it, ocular power can be slowly restored. High precision sniper. Price, 50,000 points. Times have changed. Premium cursed tool. Ichiraku ramen. Price, 10 points. Naruto's recommendation. Note, after each item is purchased, new items will be randomly added to the shelves. 1,000 points can be spent to refresh actively. Of these 6 items, the one that most attracted Kazuma was Madara's treasured ninjutsu scroll. Madara is a top powerhouse in the world of Naruto. The ninjutsus that he treasures must be very powerful. Maybe S-rank or even forbidden ninjutsu are recorded in that scroll. Although Kazuma possesses the Mangekyo and 8 inner gates, and already has considerable combat power, he doesn't even know a single ninjutsu yet. Looks like he has to work hard to get points. After thinking for a while, Kazuma bought the gunbai that was indestructible. He also purchased 3 sets of Akatsuki robes in preparation for future members. Hey, what are you daydreaming about? Nanami-sensei is planning to take everyone out for dinner, are you coming? Nobara pushed his shoulder and asked. A big meal? Speaking of which, is Ichiraku ramen delicious? Anyway, how can he miss a free meal? Kazuma was about to agree. Suddenly, a faint light flashed from the surveillance camera beside the road, and Kazuma glanced over. He saw that there was a little bit of cursed energy on the surface of the surveillance camera, which showed that it had been carefully tampered with. His eyes darkened slightly. They are hiding the surveillance method by covering the surface with cursed energy? Kazuma looked around and saw several figures standing on the balcony of a tall building 200 meters ahead, looking in the direction of Kazuma and others. Through the Sharingan, he could see that they were faintly emitting weak fluctuations of cursed energy. It was dark, and even a sorcerer would have difficulty detecting it from such a distance. But all this did not escape Kazuma's eyes. He recalled the words of the cursed spirit before its death. Don't kill me, I was forcibly transformed by others. Kazuma sneered. This matter is indeed not as simple as it seems. Is it a curse user? Kazuma looked at everyone and said, you guys go ahead. I'm a little tired. I'll take the unconscious child home. Nobara complained, what? You are rejecting such a good atmosphere. You really don't understand the mood. Nanami, who was considerate, said calmly, Kazuma has just fought against a special grade cursed spirit alone. It's normal for him to be tired. Let the great hero have a good rest. Kazuma gave Nanami a look of gratitude. Yuji said carelessly, don't worry, I will pack delicious food for Kazuma. The price is that you have to teach me real kung fu. At this time, Mei, who was answering the phone at the side, came over. She first glanced at Kazuma with a smile, and then said, sorry, I need to go home and have a good sleep. I'm sorry, I can't keep you company. After saying that, she left alone. After bidding farewell to everyone, Kazuma pretended to take a taxi back. 10 minutes later. The place was empty. Whoosh! A vortex appeared on the spot, and the space vibrated slightly. On the rooftop, a man wearing a white mask, a fire cloud robe, and a round fan on his back appeared. From the holes of the mask, 2 eyes that reflected the soul glowed in the darkness. This person was Kazuma, who had just left in a taxi. He glanced at the old surveillance camera across the street. Its location was very hidden. Coupled with the fact that cursed energy was used to cover it, ordinary people and even sorcerers couldn't detect it unless they paid attention. A cool breeze blew by, and his robe fluttered in the wind. The Akatsuki robe purchased from the system store was of very good quality. It was not only comfortable to wear, but also weightless and had no impact on combat. The most important thing was that it had a self-cleaning function. There was no need to clean it. This was very convenient for a lazy guy like him. Looking at the crows flying across the sky, Kazuma seemed to be lost in thought. In an empty room at Kazuma's feet, Mei was sitting with her legs crossed and eating melon seeds. Under the dim light, her beautiful pair of legs in black stockings appeared shiny and glossy. Her half-hanging black high-heeled shoes were swaying mischievously, and her feet that were wrapped in black stockings seemed like it could be completely exposed at any time. With the crow's shared vision, she saw everything about the mysterious masked man who had appeared out of nowhere on the roof. She opened her red lips slightly. "Hana, do you think you can hide it from me by changing your clothes, Kazuma? It seems that you have a lot of secrets. I hope you don't do anything that will disappoint everyone." In the phone call just now, Yaga stated his request. She was too lazy to care about such boring things. But Yaga gave too much, and it just so happened that she had recently set her eyes on an expensive bag. So, she took on this task. On the rooftop, Kazuma ignored the crows and headed towards the tall building. In the night, Kazuma blended into the darkness, shuttling between the buildings. Inside a high-rise building, several curse users gathered together. The big screen in front of them showed a recording of Kazuma and the others. "Sir, it was that kid who had killed the human-faced worm we had worked so hard to cultivate. We were only one step away from success." A dark-skinned man with an afro gritted his teeth. "Damn it! I clearly transferred Gojo Satoru away, but I didn't expect there to be another expert. That special-grade curse spirit had been cultivated at great cost, and it had already devoured nearly 1,000 humans. As long as it devoured these sorcerers, it could have completed the transformation. At that time, he could absorb that cursed spirit and reach first grade. But who would have thought that the carefully planned strategy would be ruined by a young boy?" The speaker was a middle-aged man with huge muscles and a hair that looked like it was on fire. Chapter 16, Lair of Curse Users. When the people standing nearby saw their boss getting angry, they all lowered their heads, fearing that his anger would be taken out on them. They turned their eyes to the surveillance screen. They saw Kazuma slowly tilt his head and look towards the camera with a sneer. Suddenly, the middle-aged boss body shook violently. His pupils contracted violently, and the cigarette in his hand fell to the ground involuntarily. In the surveillance footage, it was already night, but the pair of terrifying scarlet eyes were accurately locked onto the direction of the surveillance camera. A gorgeous blood-colored pattern slowly rotated, and one could even see a sarcastic smile in those eyes, with no intention of disguising it. It was as if those eyes were saying, "I have found you." All the curse users present breathed heavily, and cold sweat poured down their backs. In the secret room, there was pin-drop silence, except for the heavy breathing of the crowd. The middle-aged man only managed to recover thanks to his many years of experience and strong psychological quality. What kind of eyes are those? This scene reminded them of the man who was known as the strongest sorcerer, Gojo Satoru. When Gojo Satoru was a child, they had thought about assassinating him, but they became scared and gave up after seeing the surveillance. But this time, those eyes were far more terrifying than the pair of 6 eyes. He had a feeling that if he continued to look into those eyes, he might lose his mind. Where did the boy in the surveillance video come from? Why have they never heard of such a powerful person? Investigate this man's background carefully. Since this guy dared to ruin his plans, he must die. As long as he has knowledge about the enemy's abilities and targets him, he might be able to kill him. After all, not everyone is as strong as Gojo Satoru. It is impossible for anyone to be as strong as Gojo Satoru. Yes, boss. Several men in black responded and walked out the door. Suddenly, bang! The reinforced iron door was kicked open. The men in black were knocked back and their bodies knocked over the tables and chairs in the room. Kazuma crossed his arms and said, "Oh. There are quite a few people here. It seems that this trip is worthwhile." At a glance, There were roughly dozens of people here, and they all had cursed energy. Who are you? And how did you get in? Faced with this sudden intruder, everyone looked at the mysterious man wearing a white mask with vigilance. On the surface, this building was an insurance company, but in reality, it was their base for breeding artificial cursed spirits. Each floor is strictly guarded by guards, and has 360-degree surveillance without blind spots. Even Gojo Satoru wouldn't be able to break in quietly. Is there a spy inside the organization? Kazuma said, "You forgot me so quickly?" After he finished speaking, red light flashed from under the mask. Boss, it's him. Even with a mask on, the iconic scarlet pupils were recognizable at a glance. It was as if they were being stared at by an evil spirit from hell. A chill ran down their spines. The middle-aged man shouted angrily, "Shut up! Don't I know that?" He looked at Kazuma and said, "Your Excellency, why are you visiting so late at night?" After saying this, he glanced at his men, signaling them to quickly call for help. Kazuma couldn't help but find all this funny, but he didn't stop their actions. After all, it would be easier to kill them all at once. I don't want to beat around the bush with you guys. Is that special grade curse spirit related to you guys? As soon as Kazuma finished speaking, an alarm sounded in the entire building. From the large screen in front, it could be seen that many men in black were rushing towards this place quickly. Obviously, these people are all curse users, but in Kazuma's eyes, they are all points. Ah, you are confident, aren't you? Are you sure that you can walk out of this building? As the middle-aged man with fiery red hair finished speaking. Boom! Cursed energy surged, instantly lighting up the dim room. More than a dozen men in black released their cursed energies. The colors of their cursed energies were different. Two big men tore off their shirts, revealing their monstrous muscles. They were holding dagger-like cursed tools in their hands. The middle-aged man sneered. Even if the guy in front of him is a first-grade sorcerer, so what? This is his territory. Not only is the space limited, but... He glanced slightly toward the rooftop of the building opposite. A sniper holding a silenced sniper rifle is already in position, and the gun is loaded with armor-piercing bullets. Later, in the chaos of the battle, he can find the right time to shoot the target in the head. Even a first-grade sorcerer will die if they are not prepared. How could he climb up step by step over the years and become the boss of these curse users without some special means? Surely, a first-grade sorcerer's body can cultivate a powerful curse spirit, right? Go! Cut him into pieces. Following his order, more than 10 curse users launched an attack at the same time. For a moment, the condensed cursed energy attack overwhelmed Kazuma. Under the white mask, Kazuma's lips slightly curved. He did not dodge and allowed them to attack. Boom! A dazzling flame burst out from the top floor of the building. The smoke and dust cleared, the walls collapsed, and the ground was full of potholes, but Kazuma was unharmed. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. So many attacks were launched at him at the same time, yet they didn't cause any damage at all? Even a special grade sorcerer wouldn't be unscathed, right? Only the boss realized what had happened. There is a curse technique in this world that can allow all attacks to pass through? How is that possible? But it does. And matter, the sniper is already in place. Surely, he can't stay like this forever, right? Whoosh! Two burly men holding cursed tools flashed and surrounded Kazuma. Two cold rays flashed almost at the same time. However, they were too slow. Kazuma pulled out the gun by behind him and swept it across like a sharp sword. Clang! The two cursed tools fell to the ground, and the two big men were cut in half. Blood splattered on the walls on both sides, staining them bright red. Kazuma put the two cursed tools into the Kemui dimension. Although they didn't look high level, they were cursed tools after all. Maybe he would have a use for them one day. It just so happens that the dormitory is short of a fruit knife. Seeing his capable subordinate who had followed him for many years being cut in half, the boss of the curse users was completely furious. Many curse users had already appeared behind Kazuma. Kill! A roar echoed throughout the entire building. At once, hundreds of curse users rushed towards Kazuma from both sides. Chapter 17, Using Genjutsu. Look, I'm in a hurry. Kazuma retreated to the window and reached out to stroke the crow perched on the windowsill. Under the mask, his deep eyes swept over the crowd. Haha, they want to use human wave tactics to besiege him? Then, he will let them experience what despair is. His Sharingan turned and stared at the crowd. Those who had surrounded him were all low-level curse users. Anyone who made eye contact with Kazuma was instantly caught under a genjutsu. There was no possibility of struggle. Among the crowd of curse users, half of them had blank eyes and dull expressions, like puppets being manipulated. Before they even touched Kazuma, screams of pain were heard. Ah! You! A curse user felt a sharp pain behind him. His heart, kidneys, and even his anus were ruthlessly stabbed by his former trusted teammate. Damn it! The curse user was furious and shouted, "Don't look into his eyes." However, it was too late. A whistling sound came from his ears. He dodged quickly. Boom! A huge axe was embedded in the wall. If he hadn't dodged in time, his head would have been chopped off. The person who had thrown that axe was the assistant in charge of researching artificial cursed spirits. At this moment he was obviously being controlled. I'm sorry, brother. The boss gathered his cursed energy into a sharp blade in his hand and killed the opponent with tears. However, his subordinates did not have such good luck and strength. They all had followed him on his journey, escaping the sorcerer's crackdown and the police's siege. But they could not escape the blades of their companions. Although he was very angry at the moment, he was more afraid than angry. Who is this mysterious masked man? Just with a glare, he was able to control so many of his men to kill each other. It's simply too outrageous. Even Six Eyes can't do this, right? Now, he can only place his hope on the sniper. Soon, under Kazuma's genjutsu, all the curse users died. The corridor was flooded with blood. Some were on the ground, in the walls, and some had their heads stuck straight into the ceiling. The ways of their death were all different. Most of these people were killed by their own comrades. As for the corpses with their heads stuck in the ceiling, that was because Kazuma had hit them with Madara's round fan. Kazuma said, "You are the only one left, a commander without troops." He flashed and instantly pinned the boss of the curse users against the wall. I heard that you are cultivating artificial cursed spirits? Where is the laboratory? Don't force me to use genjutsu on you. Kazuma had used his Sharingan quite frequently today and his eyes were already hurting a little. Even if the white mask could slowly restore his ocular power, it was very slow. The boss's face was ferocious, but he forced out a grim smile. He said, "Ahem, ha, you won't have the chance to know. This is the perfect opportunity for the sniper to attack." He believed that the gun this masked guy's head would explode soon. All he has to do is attract his attention. Kazuma Seifold, really? Your sniper must be tired of lying down, right? As soon as these words came out, the middle-aged man's pupils became as thin as needles. How did he find out? He actually knows about the sniper? Under the other party's extremely horrified gaze, Kazuma slowly turned his head and looked at the tall building in the distance. At the same time, in the tall building opposite, the sniper, who had blended into the night, slowly pulled the trigger. He. Mei gathered the cursed energy at her fingertips, and a crow silently appeared in her palm. Through crows, she had witnessed a crushing battle. That terrifying anti-detection ability and forcibly controlling people's minds. Ha, what a scary guy. Even she was almost deceived by his harmless appearance. Just now, the moment Kazuma had stepped back to the window and stroked the crow, she understood. It turned out that her reconnaissance ability that she was so proud of had been discovered long ago. However, he is still too young. He didn't even realize that the sniper would have smashed his head. I'll help him this time, and then ask him for protection money later. A crow rushed towards the sniper, who was about to pull the trigger. Its speed was no less than that of a bullet. But the next moment, Mei Mei's eyes widened, and her red lips widened. She saw a vortex flowing around the sniper's head and the space around that area distorted. Bang! The sniper's entire head was twisted off and fell into the Kamui dimension. The headless corpse shook a few times and then fell down. The crows she had released followed closely behind, but they flew into nothing, seeming a bit redundant. Exploded? This familiar spatial fluctuation. Was it caused by Kazuma? Mei Mei hoped that Kazuma was not their enemy. Otherwise, the Jujutsu Society would be in a big trouble. After a brief moment of daze, Mei Mei turned her gaze to Kazuma, who was wearing a white mask in the opposite room. She saw that Kazuma was staring at her and even blinking meaningfully. She quickly looked away. Was I teased by a student? Mei Mei leaped up, landed gracefully, and shook her head with a smile. It seems that she was worrying too much. Kazuma had actually discovered the sniper a long time ago. Was he deliberately waiting until the end to give his opponent the most to spare? He's really unfathomable. Mei Mei became even more interested in Kazuma. For now, she should go and see the artificial cursed spirits cultivated in the basement. Through the crow's observation, she had discovered the basement. She had no intention of setting foot in such a dirty place. But apart from money, her responsibilities as a sorcerer barely came in second. After reporting the situation there to the school, she should be able to extort some money from Yaga. Kazuma pressed the head of the boss of the curse users against the window and said, in the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy is futile. The boss had given up struggling. Just now, he had witnessed everything with his own eyes. The mysterious masked man in front of him just glared at the sniper, and his head just vanished. Is this masked man a god? He was like a prophet, discovering the sniper's position early. It seemed as if everything was within his expectations. The most terrifying thing was that with just a glance, he broke his subordinate's head from a distance of 100 meters. Isn't this something that only gods can do? It's over. This time, he has hit a dead end. All the hard work and effort he had spent to carefully train his subordinates has been wasted. All of this was because of this one masked guy. Chapter 18, Confronting Mei Mei. Thinking of this, the fear and confusion in his heart were replaced by anger. His eyes became bloodshot. Even if he dies, he won't make things easy for this masked guy. Ha ha ha. You want to know about the underground laboratory? You'd better come to hell to ask me. After saying this, his cheek muscles bulged and he was about to bite his tongue to commit suicide. Genjutsu. As Kazuma's Genjutsu was activated, the boss's expression became dull. His pupils became unfocused, and even biting his tongue to commit suicide became a luxury. Don't be so anxious. Where is the exact location of the underground breeding room? Kazuma asked, enduring the stinging pain in his eyes. On the 3rd floor below ground. Okay, you can die now. Good night, uncle. Snap. Kazuma broke his neck. This time, he had killed so many curse users and gained a lot of points. If there are still many half-finished cursed spirits being cultivated in the basement as this person had said, wouldn't it be possible to gain a lot more points? Semi-finished products should also give points, right? Meanwhile, in the basement, a dim green light barely illuminated the surroundings. Huge transparent containers could be seen on both sides. Many semi-finished cursed spirits were sleeping in the container. Their lower bodies were soaked in green liquid, and many tubes were connected to their backs. Some were half human, half insect, some had frog heads and human bodies, and some were a combination of many different creatures. Their composition was extremely complex. Tau. Tap. Tap. The stomping sound of high heels echoed in the enclosed space. Mei Mei carried a huge axe in one hand and walked leisurely. Behind her, a horrifying scene could be seen. Dozens of experimenters in white coats were lying on the ground in a pool of blood. Could this be the purpose of Kazuma's trip? Through the battle just now, she had ruled out the possibility of Kazuma being a curse user. This was why she had helped him just now, even though she didn't really help in the end. But she still did not let down her guard against Kazuma. After all, his behavior was too strange. Why did he pretend to leave, and then come back? Besides, how did he know about what was happening here? She didn't believe that he was just seeking revenge. What a troublesome guy. It would be nice if he was just a good student. Why does he have to be so secretive? It's really a headache. She took out her cell phone and prepared to record the situation here. She planned to leave the dirty work of dealing with these artificial cursed spirits to the counselors and supervisors. At this moment, the space ahead fluctuated. Mei seemed to be thinking about something and immediately hid behind a stone pillar. Whoosh! Kazuma appeared. Mei felt a little envious when she saw this scene. Putting aside other things, this ability was really convenient for traveling. Has anyone been here? Looking at the dozen bodies lying on the ground, Kazuma murmured. But he couldn't find any clues. After all, his Sharingan couldn't see through things like the Byakugan. However, smelling the faint fragrance in the air, he realized something. The corners of his mouth slightly raised. This scent was very familiar, and he already had the answer in his heart. He was prepared for the fact that others might be suspicious of him. First of all, he had just appeared out of nowhere, and his identity and background were unknown. The school should have tried to check his background, and the result was predictable. Secondly, he possessed strength far exceeding that of freshmen. It was inevitable that he would be suspected, and Kazuma could understand this. However, he had no intention of hiding his strength. At most, he would hide some things from Sukuna and Kenjaku, who had not yet appeared. After all, intelligence can play a key role in battles, and he doesn't want to be targeted. Therefore, before becoming invincible, Gojo Satoru has to be the center of attention. The only thing he felt guilty about was that he had to poach some people. Mei heard the sound of Kazuma deeply inhaling. Her face turned slightly red. Oh no! If she had known, she wouldn't have sprayed perfume before going out. This kid has a very sensitive nose. There is a high probability that she has been discovered. The laboratory was silent. The two of them kept a tacit understanding. Kazuma did not point out the hidden Mei, and Mei did not show up on her own initiative. Kazuma walked to the center and took a quick glance at all the man-made cursed spirits. Those curse users are truly beasts. How many people have they harmed in secret? He looked at the sleeping experiment subject in the container. It must be very painful to be neither human nor cursed spirit, right? Everyone gets what they need. He helps them get rid of their suffering, and they give him points. That shouldn't be too much, right? Thinking about this, Kazuma took off Gunbai behind him and was about to take action. Whoosh! A crow rushed towards him from behind at a very fast speed. Kazuma glanced sideways. Kamui! Bang! A crow fell 1 meter in front of him, and its headless body twitched twice on the ground before dying. His accuracy with the Kamui attack had improved a lot. Now, he had a 100% headshot rate within 10 meters. Kazuma said in a deep voice, "Come out." A graceful figure walked out slowly, and the huge axe in her hand fell to the ground, creating a dent. Kazuma raised his brows slightly. He knew something about this first-grade sorcerer Mei. The reason why she was ranked first grade was not because of her Crow Shikigami, but because of her physical skills that are enough to fight against special-grade cursed spirits. Such a heavy axe was as light as cotton in her hand. Sorry, you can't mess around with the experimental subjects here. Mei looked at Kazuma with a smile. This kid's pretending pretty well. He even used cursed energy to change his voice. What? Are you going to use genjutsu on your teacher? Kazuma did not respond. He squinted his eyes through the mask, sizing up Mei, without saying a word. Although Mei's tone was frivolous and casual, her eyes were always on the ground. She didn't dare to meet those strange eyes. Even she was not sure if she could resist his genjutsu. If she falls under a genjutsu, wouldn't she be at his mercy? Therefore, it is better to be careful. Kazuma said in a rough voice, I'm afraid you have recognized the wrong person. Please don't interfere with my work. You should also be able to see that these man-made cursed spirits have no chance of survival. Meimei subconsciously looked at Kazuma and said, no, the things here are beneficial for me. Before she could finish her words. Genjutsu. Kazuma decisively seized the opportunity and used genjutsu. After killing these cursed spirits, he was too lazy to talk nonsense with Meimei. Oh no! I was careless. My consciousness is about to break down. Meimei was frozen in place for an instant. Sweat dripped down her fair forehead, her eyes rolled back, and she looked dazed. Her appearance could make a lot of people's imagination run wild. For some reason, Kazuma felt a sense of conquest when he saw Meimei like this. However, the speed of the gunbai in his hand did not slow down at all. Chapter 19, Bribing Meimei? Kazuma's goal was to knock Meimei out, put her in the Kamui dimension, and then release her after finishing what he has to do. Just as the gunbai in his hand approached the back of Meimei's neck, a sharp gust of wind appeared near the side of his head. Kazuma decisively gave up on the attack, and the giant axe passed through Kazuma's body without any hindrance. After making this attack, Meimei suddenly retreated and kept some distance. She covered her aching forehead with one hand. Her whole body was covered in sweat, and her chest was heaving up and down. Ho-ha, ho-ha. Meimei was breathing heavily, as if she had just barely survived from drowning. Fortunately, she had managed to break free. She almost fell into his hands. How embarrassing would it be if word of this got out? Kazuma was also a little surprised. How did Meimei break free from his genjutsu so quickly? But on second thought, it's normal. He had only used a little energy for this genjutsu, and as he had overused his eyes today and had been fighting nonstop, his cursed energy was almost exhausted. Drip! Liquid dripped from the corner of his mouth, and he subconsciously stuck out his tongue to lick it. Salty and fishy? Oh shit! Kazuma quickly closed his eyes, and a few more drops of blood fell. It seems that he has overused his eyes today. It seems like using genjutsu consumes the most energy among the Sharingan abilities that he can currently use. He must end this fight quickly. He looked at Meimei and remained calm. He said, do you still want to stop me? Can you really bear a hellish nightmare, even if it's just an illusion? Meimei had already put away her casual attitude and looked at the ground with serious eyes. Kazum was right. He had indeed shown mercy to her just now. Otherwise, he would not have just tried to knock her out. If Kazuma really wanted to kill her, he could just take advantage of the moment she was trapped in the genjutsu and use that weird method to twist her head off. This is so embarrassing. She is being threatened by a freshman. But it seems that Kazuma really has no ill will towards sorcerers. Seeing Meimei hesitate, Kazuma took out a black briefcase from the Kamui dimension and threw it over. He had just picked this up from the curse users, and it was full of money. Meimei took the bulging briefcase and opened it. She looked what was inside. Her beautiful eyes widened and she stood there in a daze. This, so much? Is she being bribed? You seem to know me very well? She put away her weapon and gradually approached Kazuma. She whispered, anything else? Kazuma's mouth twitched and he said, what do you mean? Oh. Forget it. Meimei gave him a deep look and said, what do you want? Give me an answer. I don't care about your identity. I can even help you avoid unnecessary troubles with Yaga. As for why Kazuma came back, and what use he had for these man-made cursed spirits, she no longer wanted to care. Besides, it seemed that she couldn't beat him, so she naturally had no right to ask these questions. Kazuma pondered and said, I have my own aspirations. But I can guarantee that I will not cause any harm to the teachers and students. Your concerns are completely unnecessary. At the same time, he thought silently, poaching shouldn't be considered as causing harm, right? Mei looked at Kazuma for a long time through the mask, and suddenly smiled. She said, "In that case, I can take this money with peace of mind." Then she stretched out her slender hand, stroked Kazuma's mask, and dialed Yaga's number. A middle-aged man's voice came from the other end of the line. "Hello, how is it going?" Mei said, "I didn't find any abnormal behavior." Kazuma helped 3 old ladies cross the road. Moreover, at my invitation, he destroyed a curse user's base. Remember to pay more. After saying that, she uploaded the photos she had taken previously. Of course, she did not send out the photos of her in the underground laboratory. After doing all this, she raised her phone and shook it towards Kazuma, as if asking if he was satisfied with this. Kazuma was a little speechless. Can't she be more normal? He helped old ladies cross the road, and there were even 3 of them? Thank you very much. Kazuma turned and looked at the transparent containers containing artificial cursed spirits on both sides. Snap! 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 The muffled sound of flesh passed through the container A. ND spread throughout the laboratory. As Kazuma's eyes swept over them one by one, all the cursed spirits in the container had their necks twisted and were completely freed. Thanks. A head that barely looked like a human face rolled down, and tears of relief flowed out. Kazuma smiled and nodded. The people who reformed you have been killed. Rest with peace of mind. At this moment, reminders of him earning points kept coming to his mind. Mei stared blankly at Kazuma as he killed the artificial cursed spirits one by one. The artificial cursed spirits' last words "thank you" made her heart tighten. If she brought these artificial cursed spirits back, they would definitely be used for extensive research. This may be the best outcome for them. Is this all Kazuma wants? He's really an inscrutable guy. After all this, Kazuma prepared to teleport to the dormitory. Hey! Wait, can you also travel with others with your ability? Mei came over, trotting with her long legs. She was exhausted from following Kazuma, so she wanted to take a free ride. Bring people? It seems that it is indeed possible to bring people. Kazuma said nothing and hugged her by grabbing her waist. His sudden movement made Mei's delicate body tremble, but she did not resist. Hold on tight. This is my first time teleporting with someone, so don't blame me if you lose any limbs. Mei smiled and whispered in his ear, "Tisk, I'm your teacher, don't let your imagination run wild." After saying that, her mature and plump body gently pressed against Kazuma. Chapter 20, Maki's Internal Thoughts. Tokyo Jujutsu High. Girls' Dormitory. Whoosh! Space twisted, a vortex appeared, and 2 figures fell to the ground. Using this ability, you can freely come and go, it's very convenient. Mei sighed with some envy. Then she narrowed her eyes and looked at Kazuma with a scrutinizing look. She asked, "You wouldn't teleport to the girls' dormitory for some purposes, would you?" Kazuma raised his eyebrows slightly. If Mei hadn't said it, he wouldn't have thought of it. But then again, why would he use the mighty Kamui for such things? Bye-bye. After leaving a word, Kazuma disappeared. Back in his dormitory, Kazuma took off his mask. He could see his bloodshot eyes through the mirror. Fortunately, apart from dryness and dull pain, there were no other effects and his vision was not affected. Judging from today's situation, it seems like Mei is a mature woman and cannot be easily deceived. So, he did not invite her to join the Akatsuki. After all, he could not see through her true thoughts. Then, the next target is Maki. She wants to prove herself, so it should be easy to deal with her. The Eternal Mangekyo can solve his current problem once and for all. Kazuma lied in bed and checked his points. Killing hundreds of curse users and those semi-finished artificial curse spirits added up to a total of 51,000 points. He wanted to buy Madara's treasured ninjutsu scroll, but he was just halfway there for now. This time, with a bit of luck, he was able to destroy the lair of a group of curse users. That's why he earns so many points. But earning this many points is going to be difficult for a while now. After all, the plot is still in the early stages. Not many special grade cursed spirits have emerged, and the 4 great natural disasters in Kenjaku have not appeared yet. After purchasing the mask and fan, 2 new items had appeared in the system store. Automatic physical training card, 24-hour. Price, 500 points. Can automatically train even when sleeping. Tsunade's bra. Price, 500 points. Those who understand will understand. The system is getting more and more. Tsunade's bra? That's it? If you have the guts, just put Tsunade up there and sell her. In the end, Kazuma bought both. He put the bra into the Kemui dimension. Kazuma didn't have any intentions. He was just simply curious. That 24-hour double physical training card was very important to him. The reason Guy had become so strong after opening the 8th gate was because his physique was already extremely strong. If a person with an average physique were to open the 8 gates, their power might not even be half of Guy's. Moreover, without a strong physique, the subsequent 6 gates cannot be opened. After activating the automatic training card, Kazuma fell into a sweet dream. The next day, Yaga convened a meeting of teachers and students based on Kazuma's performance the day before. Inside the hall, Yaga stood in front of the podium. The first and second year students all sat quietly below and listened. Kazuma was somewhat speechless. Wasn't it just killing a special grade cursed spirit? Was there any need to make such a big fuss? This old principal has the time to send people to investigate him and the energy to hold a meeting. With that much time and effort, it would be better to do something practical. For example, giving out some bonuses or providing information about the whereabouts of cursed spirits. As Yaga recounted what had happened yesterday, the audience looked at Kazuma in the front row as if he was a monster. Yuji and the others were fine. After all, they had seen it with their own eyes yesterday. But what they didn't expect was that Kazuma later followed Mei to destroy a curse user's lair. While they were enjoying a seafood feast, Kazuma was out working hard. Kazuma had almost become an idol in their hearts. The most shocked were the second-year students Maki and others. Panda looked at Kazuma with his big round eyes. My goodness, is this guy still human? First, he beat up the principal, and then he killed a special grade cursed spirit? Isn't he too fierce? He was making second graders like him embarrassed. Maki was staring at Kazuma's back at this moment. Hunting down specule grade cursed spirits and destroying the lair of hundreds of curse users, is he really that powerful? Both his cursed technique and taijutsu are impeccable. She was born without any cursed energy. She never slacked off since the moment she entered school. But physical training is not something that can be done overnight. Perhaps she should put aside her pride and ask Kazuma for advice. She clenched her fists tightly and made up her mind. Nobara asked, Maki, what's wrong with you? You look so distracted. Last night, Nobara had chatted for a long time with Maki, who seemed cold on the outside but was warm on the inside. Perhaps because they had similar personalities and ideas, the two quickly got close. But why was Maki so off today? Nobara followed Maki's gaze and noticed Kazuma. So, it was because of Kazuma? Come to think of it, she is now his employee, a member of the Akatsuki. Maki said cheekily, can you help me make an appointment with Kazuma? I need his advice. Nobara confidently said, of course. After the group was dismissed, Kazuma, who had used the automatic training card, planned to go back to the dormitory and sleep with the mask on. After all, his eyes were still a little uncomfortable now, and the mask could help him recover faster. Kazuma, wait. A female voice full of energy sounded. Looking back, Kazuma saw someone jogging towards him. The figure's short orange-red hair fluttered in the wind. A youthful and energetic atmosphere filled the air. He joked, Kazuma? I'm your boss, so just call me boss. Nobara said, you wish. Looking at Kazuma's harmless smile, her tone weakened as she said, Maki-senpai wants to see you for something, can you go? Maki is looking for him? Kazuma's brain worked rapidly, and he tried to guess Maki's purpose. Unexpectedly, things had become much simpler. He hasn't even gone to find Maki to invite her to the Akatsuki yet. Instead, Maki took the initiative to find him? He must seize this opportunity this time. But Kazuma still joked, "Just call me boss and I'll go." That wraps up this part of What If Ninja in Jujutsu Kaisen. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Just a quick reminder, there's only one more part left in the story, What If Ichigo Had a Different Zanpakuto, before we catch up with the author. So once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the next project should be here on the channel. I'm currently considering these 3 fanfics. What if Seinen's system in High School DxD? What if Ichigo awoke his true powers? What if mangaka in One Piece world? Let me know which one you'd like to see next by voting in the poll. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.